We are back with another HEF podcast. Welcome. It is Monday, February 2nd. That's 2/2/26. Holy cow. It feels like the year just started, but I mean, it's been constant mayhem over here and chaos in the Crawford house. So the whole year has just started to zip on by. But welcome to February and welcome to the HEF podcast. The HEF podcast is the podcast of the Home Education Foundation. It's an organization that was started by our beloved founder, Brenda Dickinson, and her husband, Craig Dickinson, after they had secured a victory for home education families in the 1980s. So HEF was established in the early 90s after that victory. Before that, parents who wanted to school their children at home, to kind of do their own things, set their own path and standards, only really had one option, which was to do it through a private school umbrella or to just throw caution to the wind and go in hiding in closets and do it themselves. And Brenda thought, enough. We need to have the right to teach our own children. They're our children. And God gave them to us to do just that. And so now we have a wonderful law here in the state of Florida. And we thank Brenda Dickinson and the Home Education Foundation for the work that they have done over the years. And we thank the parents in the free state of Florida for supporting the work that we do. We have an annual fundraiser that we started back in August of 2025. Our first annual fundraiser, the year Brenda retires, we get our first annual fundraiser because she did a lot of the work that she did without official support. People would support here and there, but in order to see the torch carried forward, we needed something established. And that's what I'm doing. My name is Jason Crawford, and I am the new lobbyist for home education rights in the state of Florida. And I carry on the work that she started. And we're very thankful also to have our top sponsors, Arete, FPEA, Fisher Precious Metals, and TBHC Group, because we wouldn't be able to do it without all of the amazing sponsors and donors that we have that support all of the work that we do. We have a very special guest with us today, Sue Pooch-Farron, who is a member of our board, and she is also one of the longest standing directors of a home education instructional program in the state of Florida. It goes back over 20 years, helping families supplement their journey into home education, where parents teach their own children. And sometimes they just need a little bit of help. They just want a class here or there, or they want some other kids to blow up rockets with, and the parents would take turns and teach. And it's been fascinating. She can talk more about her program, but she's with us, vast experience. She was one of the early people who came alongside Brenda and has been one of the most fierce champions for what Brenda has worked on over the last 40 years. And very protective when I came in to work with Brenda. Like, who is this Jason guy? And I love that. I absolutely love that. You have that protective nature over the legacy that Brenda has put in place. And I'm glad to be a part of it with you. And I thank you for being on our podcast today. So welcome, Sue.
A few times and could not have been more pleased. We are thrilled with what you're doing with your family, with your precious wife. So we not only let him into the group, we let him into the family. And we're just couldn't be happier. Brenda and I spent a lot of years wondering what God was going to do with this, who was going to step in and take over when there really wasn't the support and there wasn't. And he had a plan, and she hung in there for a lot of extra years waiting for see that. So you are an answer to prayer. Brenda, my prayers, but also to so many others. But it was about 20 some years ago, and I heard Brenda speak, and I thought everything that she has fought, because I'm a believer that we have the best homeschool law in the country. And I've had other people come say, oh yeah, but in Texas, you don't even have to report. It's better. And I'm like, yes, but can you play sports? Can you get dual enrollment? So we have a balance between restriction, reporting, if you will, and freedoms. And it's a really beautiful balance. And that is not by accident.
No.
It is by design, and it is by a lot of hard work year after year, protecting it, not getting, she always will say, a will the word will could be changed with must. They will,
Mhm.
they may, and if one word changes, everything changes. So
It sure does.
I
Yeah.
remember going on a convention with her, and she pulled out a book this thick to read at night. And I said, what? And
Mhm.
that, and it looked like a phone book to me from the old days. And that was the education law.
Yeah.
And she sat there with her yellow marker and went through every time it said student, she would change it to public school student. Every time, like the diligence and the efforts of Brenda are why we're enjoying what we're enjoying today. So at that point, I said, how can I help you? And
Yeah.
that's a long friendship. And
And hats off to her, because that was back before find and replace, right?
yes,
Like, you're not hitting Control F, find and replace all. That, I mean, that's a what a tedious, what a devoted, what a heart and a sacrifice. The time, you'll never get those. No matter what technology is invented later that makes that so much easier, she'll never get that time back that she did spend. And what a beautiful heart. What a woman. I really appreciate everything that she's done, and I fight very hard to keep it that way because it's so important to me. Um, Speaking of fighting on things, I'm gonna go ahead and do our legislative update. So I need sound effects. Hold on, do I have any sound effects for like? No. Oh wait, I do, I do have the alert sound effect. Our legislative update. I need to get a better one. Um, so I found toward the end, with the help of the some staff combing through things, just to illustrate to our listening audience and to our community why these things sometimes take months to figure out where the real unintended consequences are coming from, or reading it over and over and over is so important, because we have been working with Senator Simon to make suggestions on Senate Bill 538, which is the extracurricular and sports bill. They're attempting to rewrite the 1006.15 Craig Dickinson Act, which gives home education students the right to play sports in the state of Florida, at public schools. Doggone it. That's the public school part of my education sneaking through, I promise. uh, anyway, there was a. I'll try to comb through it without being too nerdy. There were some issues that we found after getting some of the other parts of it cleaned up and in a good position. His last amendment did fix some things about the homeschool athletic cooperatives and creating a hierarchy where there is now the only entry point into sports. And the bill does a lot of things, and it's easy if you're watching this from home to get caught up in what um, what's happening in the bill and not be able to track. Okay, well, now these changes were made, but what does that mean over here? Or how does that impact this over here? Or what does that look like for me? So we go back through and we look at things from a practical perspective. And something, as we started to do that, kind of stood out to us. The gist of the issue in the bill right now is this: it removes the specialized criteria for participation for public school, private school, and homeschool students, and replaces it with a single uniform criteria of participation. I think a uniform, easy to follow direction of criteria is important. And then it also moves the burden of responsibility from the 67 districts. I know, 6-7 to all those youngsters listening. But the 67 districts all have very nuanced rules and policies about how this happens and that. So they're going to remove that decision making on eligibility and participation out of the hands of the districts and into the governing organizations, whoever they be. And one particular governing organization is the FHSAA. So we're just going to use that one as an example, but keep in mind that it references all of them. So makes one uniform criteria, moves the responsibility from 67 entities to one. So we're cleaning things up here. And there are a couple of things that we found that are a problem with this. So in striking out the criteria for home education students, it also struck out the provisions that protected parents in the measurements for the academic criteria. So what I mean by that is a lot of homeschool families don't keep GPAs. We don't keep a lot of transcripts and different things like that in the exact same format and ways public school students did. There's a lot of schools and a lot of students that works for them. But what we have found is that oftentimes school districts or even the governing organizations that don't want homeschools participating will use any opportunity to railroad them out. Um, and then it's like, oh, if you show up and you don't have your GPA and you don't have this, well, you're just not participating. So there was a line in that statute that said that the school principal and the parent must agree upon a form of measurement. And what that did was that forced the districts to accept the participation of the parent. So the parent had authority in some of the matters that would be decided upon. And since that went out and they've moved that over to the governing orgs, all the references that reference the school districts or the schools, etc., that put gatekeeping measurements on them for power control and records are now non-existent. So we've had some great conversations with Senator Simon and Senate staff, and they're amenable to seeing that that's a problem and wanting to kind of fix it. In fact, one of the things that they did was they reintroduced the home education language into the eligibility section. So we should see some of that in an amendment. I'm not Senator Simon, so I can't speak for him. And it'll take his final approval and sign off for that language to be there. So it is something that we're advocating for and putting on awareness. It's something that's very important and very critical to all of us. So if you're watching this, this week is key. Seeing what happens and seeing an amendment come out to fix this is key. If we don't see this, we're probably going to put out an all call for emails to the education committee or to your representatives and your senators, because this is a Senate bill, and this version is a Senate bill, and you would want to alert your senators to what negative impacts this would have for you. So what it would essentially do, and I'll go to the language that was stricken out. Let's see here. And it's the language that was struck starts in line 181 in the bill, and it says the home education student must meet the requirements of a home education program pursuant to 1002.41. For those of you who don't know, that is the statute that references home education in Florida law. And what this does, this reference, is it means that the home education student doesn't necessarily have to abide by all of the public schools criteria, that home education is nuanced and different and customized to every child. And so as long as your child is meeting the requirements of the home education program that they're in, then they're academically sound and they can move forward. Then the question becomes, okay, great, but what does that look like? So when you move forward into lines 182 and moving forward, it says during the period of participation at a school, the home education student must demonstrate educational progress as required by the above paragraph in the home education program by a method of evaluation agreed upon by the parent and the school principal. And so that's that key piece of language that went missing. So there's nothing in the new criteria that would require any of them to work with the parents to be understanding of the differences of how home education families measure their progress. I have a 6-year-old who was doing to the power ofs today. He was doing square root and multiplication, and he's 6. And, he can read Harry Potter and all of these things. That's great. But homeschool students run the gamut. Like, we're all over the place with academics. And, some aspects are high and then some are low, and then they even out as the year goes on or as a couple of years tick by, or maybe next week it clicks. And this is the messiness of it. And that's important to preserve. So we're fighting for all of that. Absolutely fighting for all of that. So far, they're amenable to hearing us. They're like, wow, thank you. This is a grand oversight. We're We want to be careful and cautious. So that brings me to part two. That's part one, getting the home education references and guidelines, the need for them to work with the parents and empowering parents back in. And then number two is they move the decision-making authority over to the governing organization in order to try to make it more streamlined and efficient and easier to process with one kind of uniform set of criteria. Challenges all of the references and this part of this is reading stuff that's not in the law, not in the bill, but it's in the law in other places. So if you look at 1002.41, the home education program, it states down here that a school district may not further regulate, exercise control over, or require documentation from parents of home education program students beyond the requirements of this section unless the regulation, control, or documentation is necessary for participation in a school district program. That means they can, but it has to be necessary for the participation in a school district program. Well, what happens when we move the school district program over to, they're the ones administering it, but the FHSAA is the one governing it. And in this part of the statute, there is no guidelines or guardrails on what they can ask for. So let's see here. Any school that has a student who wishes to participate in interscholastic or intrascholastic activities at another school must make all student records, including but not limited to academic, financial, disciplinary, and attendance records available upon request for the governing organization. And this was something that governed private school, but they're opening it up to all school. And you think to yourself, well, this doesn't apply to us. We're not a school. But what you have to realize is very carefully watch this first line. Any school that has a student who wishes to participate must make at another school. So that's essentially what a homeschool student is, right? They are a student that is wishing to participate at another school other than the school they're enrolled in, because they're not enrolled in one, right? Now, this is very nuanced, so follow me. For the purposes of FHSAA and their bylaws, a homeschool association can become a FHSAA member school. So there's no definition for what constitutes a school here. And so for the governing organization, and as far as they're concerned, they can adopt bylaws that say you, the parent, are the school, and your kid is wanting to play at another school. And there's nothing that keeps them from requesting documents and records, including but not limited to, means we've listed some things here, but they can always request more, right? So it's including but not limited to academic, financial, disciplinary, attendance records. Now, imagine, if you will, a moment in the not so distant future where all of these homeschool people are so customized and nuanced and varied and difficult to track and follow. And so we need help. We need help, and we don't have the manpower. 67 districts had manpower. We're just one governing organization. We don't have that. And it doesn't have to be FHSAA. Remember, this is all governing organizations. So they go, we've got this really cool AI tool that's going to help us parse all of this information and get people set up and registered and all of that. And that AI tool also pulls your records, anything that's attached to your phone device, including but not limited to what other devices are connected to it on the network that you're on, or private records, or text messages that are private that you had going to. They're not limited. There's literally zero limitations. So if you look at 1002.41, the limiting language here is very important because it says, as is necessary for participation in the school district program. That language, that guardrail doesn't exist in this bill. So there are some glaring issues with power and control of information, and we would like to see, this is not just for home education students, but this is for all students, because that would apply to all private school, public school, and homeschool students, period. And I think that really needs to be tightened up, where we've made him aware of this, and we're really pressing for these big issues to be dealt with and amended. But I do think that that's huge. That's our big update for now. Hopefully, I mean, by the time this podcast ends, we may even see an amendment come through. I don't know. I've given them all I can give them, and I've offered to make as much time available as I can. I'll cancel everything in my schedule to get this right. So it's really just comes down to going back and forth with highlighting future unintended consequences and where these things could go, and being vigilant and building relationships and staying on top of it. So we will let you know in our Discord if there is an issue. So please follow our Discord, flhef.org/Discord. If you're not in there yet, you should get in there. Follow our legislative updates channel. If you don't want to wait until next Monday to get the legislative update, and you want the in the week updates as they come, that is the best place to get them. I highly recommend it because, as we're going to talk about in a little bit, Facebook is full of a lot of information, and most of it's not exactly tight. So, sorry to make you sit through that, Sue, but thank you.
That's a really good example of why we need you. Because if you were not there, as Brenda was all these years, and without you there, it's this year we lose sports, this year we lose the next year. And that law was written, and it's powerful, and we're seeing the staying effects of it, but we have to protect it. So
yes,
you again for your diligence and insight. I think God's really in a place to be powerfully used, and we are so happy.
Well, thank you. This one was hard to catch because it required thinking about what's not in the bill and how those pieces interact. And oh man, it's kind of reading it as if this was law now, what is missing that we need. And yeah, it was my antenna went up. I was sick to my stomach. I was like, oh crap, we've got to get this. We've got to, please, man. Yeah, I was praying and asking and calling and texting, and yeah, we've got a very good leadership, I will say. I'm very happy with our leadership, that they're listening. They do care. They're balancing a lot, and I'm just they're good. They're also busy. So as much as I can do ahead of time to make it easy for them to go, oh yeah, that looks good, put that on in. That is where I tend to spend a ton of my time, just working for that end. So all right, that's our update. I want to give a special announcement. So this is kind of hits the update. Oh no, where did it go? Oh, Brad Campen. Sorry, man. I know you're watching too. I was going to. There you are. Let me find your recent post about your son. He did great. He's Cooper, I believe. Yeah. Here we go. Cooper Campen, first place champion in impromptu speaking at the Florida Civics and Debate Initiative. Great debate, top 10 in extemporaneous debate, and fourth place overall tournament champion out of Florida, and 14 other states in attendance. Really stood out and took a lot of trophies home. First place overall champion was another student. But yeah, representing homeschoolers very well. Love to see it. And that does bring me to House Bill 1059 and the companion, which is Senate Bill 1062. These are going to be, I think these are going to be great bills. The way that Senator Broger explained it in committee was that the idea is the Florida Civics and Debate Initiative was something that the governor decided was important because of an experience that a student had where they went off to win nationals, came back home, was doing life, and then realized that the whole program they had started and kind of went missing. And so what is happening to these programs? And so he made it an initiative to help them get something codified and up and running, and use the DOE to help give it legs, so to speak, and to protect the future of that initiative from, just not being important to a future governor. They've decided to move it outside of the DOE into its own entity called the FDI, the Florida Debate Initiative, and protect it from, just being thrown out with new thing. This is now what's important. We're doing this, and it just kind of no longer gets funding or manpower. So I think this is great. I've been watching it to make sure. Right now, it's free and open for homeschool students to participate in. Individually, you can just go show up. You don't have to do it through a school of any kind. You can just show up and represent yourself as a homeschooler. And so we want to keep that alive. And I've got some good conversations, I think, coming up with Representative Booth, to meet with her and discuss kind of what that would look like and to make sure that that's protected for all students to be able to participate, not just, home education students not looking for special treatment, but this is so important that everyone has access to this, like critical thinking and that arena of the mind. It's so public speaking skills. These things are so important to well-rounding. So, and that wraps up our legislative update for sure this time. I promise. But a nice little celebration. Kudos to you, Cooper. Great job, dude. Okay, Sue, let's switch gears. I've talked a lot, like a Disney villain. I monologue. There is home education instructional programs are near and dear to my heart. My wife worked, with Dina out of Tampa to kind of be director for hers for a number of years while we were living there before we moved up here to do this work. And you and Dina go back, and you guys have a long-standing history with homeschooling in Florida. I was not originally from Florida, and so homeschooling looked different for me growing up than it does for our kids growing up. And I'm thankful for those differences. But talk to me a little bit about some of the history of home education. I feel like this new wave of homeschoolers are showing up, and bless their hearts, they're coming out of a deeply entrenched mindset of being in this institutional mindset, like everything must be done by a system or a program or something to do it for me. We even nuke food in a microwave that could be otherwise cooked, and that there's just this do it for me approach to homeschooling that you're really starting to see become almost mainstream, and that breaks with the traditional culture that I know you and Dina and Brenda really fought for it to be for so long. What are you seeing, and where is HEED, your program, in kind of all of this mix?
Well, if I go back, to then and now, and kind of make a few comparisons.
Yes, ma'am.
Back then, so we're talking mid 90s.
Okay.
Was when I started to homeschool we started to homeschool our 4 little ones. And it was not because school was bad. It was not or dangerous or indoctrinating our children. It was a bigger conviction. It was God saying, this is your responsibility. And of course, the first thing I did, which is what 90% of the women I talked to and dads, I can't do this. I don't have patience. I don't have time. Like everybody, I'm not qualified. That's everybody. People are like, I feel this way. I'm like, welcome to the 99% of us.
I see those. Yep.
I think because of that, I fought it for over a year or two, saying no, that we're in a great little Christian school, and I don't have the patience, and we could never do this. And we went up to the FPEA homeschool convention. Now, if you're on the fence, don't go to the convention unless you want to be convinced, because there are people there that are really gifted speakers. And we heard one man speak. And my husband with me, we heard one man speak, and he talked about homeschooling, and they were kind of doing the learning math up on horseback in their back of their yard. But he talked about the dynamic between him and his adult children at that point. And by adult, they're in their 20s. And he's describing a family dynamic that neither of us had ever experienced, or even anybody that had that kind of a dynamic. And walked out of that lecture hall, and my husband turned to me, and he was a little more skeptical, I think, than I was going into the convention. And he said, with tears in both their eyes, he said, if half of what that man talked about is possible for family, we're all in.
Wow.
And that day we were all in. Homeschooling is not about education. It's about connection. It is about
Ooh,
design.
say that again.
Homeschooling is not just about education. It's mostly about connection.
Mm.
And that was the start of our journey. We came back and took
Hmm.
15,000 hours a year back from our children and spent time
Amazing.
with them. And then people are like, oh yeah, but if it's all touchy feely, will they still get an excellent education? And it was like, are you going to be like the character homeschoolers that matters, or are you going to be about the academic
Yeah.
homeschoolers? And I said, guys, perhaps we could have the best of both. Perhaps we could stress character and
Yes.
excellence in academics.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
that was a new thought. That was like,
yeah.
because we sort of had the ones that were just taught the Bible and nothing else type of stereotype, and some that did school and apparently had no morals type of a stereotype. And there was no, so that was really what we set out to do. And our children are grown, and one is an attorney, one is a doctor, one is a nurse, and one is a CPA. So academics
Mm.
work. We didn't pay much for college either. So testing is important. Like we
Mm.
made the education portion work. But the fact that they're all serving God, they love their spouses, like that's, and they still like to hang out with us. That's the fruit at the end of this journey.
Mm.
So without getting too touchy feely,
Yeah.
but from my perspective, looking back at the generation and then the next generation, it wouldn't matter to me how fast they learn their math tables or their times tables, but it sure would
Mm.
matter if they knew how to treat each other. They knew how to take a
Yeah.
leadership position. Those are the
Let,
qualities that only homeschooling can do if you're there doing it.
can I share a little bit about what I've seen in your family without giving too much personal information away? Because I think it really illustrates the point very well. And stop me if I'm oversharing at any point. But when I came on with you and Brenda to work, and we went down to the Palm Beach Expo, you asked us to kind of stay with you on the way down, and my wife and my family, we kind of nestled into your little extra room there on the way down. But while I was there, I noticed that your family is in and out of your house all the time. All the grandkids, the kids, they're just coming and going in a constant open family. And Crystal and I both looked at it and we were like, wow, because my mom, we live a whole nation apart, and my brother lives over here in this state, and my dad lives in that state, and everybody's off. There's their own lives. They're all doing their own things, and I thought, this it? You raise your kids, you get them to that point, and then they disappear from your life, and the best parts of your life go missing. You know, and what I saw happening in your living room all day was inspiring, and I thought, wow, this is no, like there are ways for your family to stay connected, to stay in each other's lives, and to enjoy it, smiling, getting along, cracking jokes, and then it's beautiful to watch. But ultimately, when education is important, but it's kind of like important to never stop educating yourself, right? What we're really getting down to is you can't be dumb. You have to open your mind and learn. And you've got to maintain that position all through your life. That's just kind of common sense. And then it's like, okay, great. Well, what do you need to learn? And when we pack all these things, well, you're going to need to know this and you're going to need to know that. The academic standards that we have in the public education system, well, these are what we call education. That's what that word has come to mean, is here are all the things in education you have to teach. But the truth is, and you were getting to it a moment ago, if you ace your fourth grade math test, it's not going to set you up for life, right? But if you've got character early on and you're able to put character and integrity and math together, that's going to set you up. And regardless of how well you do in any particular subject, as you're up or down, you keep moving along and through it, and you stay connected as a family. Your level of success in life goes way up, or your potential for success in life goes way up. And it's mirrored in the public schools where you see high parental involvement. So public schools, where you see a lot of parental involvement in the schools, you see the schools academically actually perform, those students perform better. And it has a lot to do with parents. And if you have that mind to be involved and to do it, go for it. There is that gap coming out of public education where they've fed you this idea, and I don't know if it's nefarious or not, but it's just the norm. It's been fed so long, that's just what's on the menu, that this is what education looks like. It looks like math at this level and at that grade and at that age, and it looks like reading and starting here and phonics and doing this and that, and it looks like science like this and this and these stages, and it looks like history and taught in these blocks.
But if they were right about that, Jason, if they were right about that, the U.S. would not be testing in the 27th and 34th percentile. So when people ask me, what should we do?
Yes.
Well, do you want the 27th best diet I've ever been on? Let me tell you what to eat. No, they're saying the best, right?
Yes.
The best countries don't even start at 27.
Yes.
The best countries don't use standardized tests.
Yes.
The best results on those standardized tests come from people who are not using tech in elementary.
Mm-hmm.
So we have models around the world to show us what works. We don't have to be stuck in this mindset that the NEA has set up, that this is the way students learn. That's a great way to learn if we're looking for factory workers, right? That's what it was designed for. That's what Rockefeller said. Put the money out there. I need workers, not thinkers. I need workers. And that's what it was designed to do. And it's very, very successful in doing that. I don't want to build workers. I want to build what the HR leaders of the top companies in the world are saying. I want people that can collaborate, solve critical thinking, that are creative, that can coordinate activities, that can get along with people, that can communicate. Like those are the skills. We don't need AI skills. We need the skills that AI can't do. And that's what we as parents get to do with our children. I think biggest shift, well, to back up a little bit, after my kids got up to about high school age, I needed some help because I'm an engineer and high school English scared the heck out of me. I'm like, I don't even want to read. I now am writing. I've written a book. Thank you for plugging it last week. All the books go to this work. But I learned to write by hiring a tutor for my high school boys and sitting there and learning how to write. So there's time when homeschool parents need to say, hey, I'm in charge. I'm overseeing their education, but I need a little help. I can't do algebra. I can't do writing. I want them in a debate class with another student. That would be a great way to learn debate with them. So from that need is how we started HEED, which is the Home Education Enrichment Day, which is let's get some families together. Let's hire experts who know and love their material. Our logic teacher is an attorney who's passionate about it. Our science teacher is a marine biologist who works out in all kinds of conservation work. And so we're really hired people that are experts and passionate about their subjects to meet with the kids one day a week. So the way he works is Monday, your high schooler will go in. Maybe somebody will just take math. Maybe somebody will take math and chemistry and English. Maybe somebody will pick what they want that day and then go home, and mom or dad oversees it while they're home. So the education, the parent. They have to hire this outside entity for one day a week, maybe two, to help with their students. So that Monday is high school, Tuesday is middle school. And then we do all hands-on stuff for the younger ones because they do not need to be doing that sitting in a desk.
So here's, oh no, go ahead. Sorry. I thought you were done.
We're 500 students a week full, but we are not a school. We like to say we're a tool for a parent to use in their school. And that's what has shifted, because that was then a few years ago, all of the money came and said, okay, here's all access to quite a bit of money. And people started saying, well, I know the school's broken, so I'm going to take my child out of school. Good for them.
Whoops, how do I do this?
But should I put them in a different school?
Yeah.
And that's to me a little bit of what's
a smaller school.
A smaller school or less regulated
micro-sized school.
Or do I keep ownership of it? So however
Yeah.
you keep ownership over it, whatever help you can get, I'm all for.
And I wanna dive in right there because this conversation keeps coming up. But I get very frustrated when I see comments on Facebook because about the cries for help, and I'm trying not to be insensitive, and I'm trying to be empathetic, right? So slap me on the wrist here, Sue. I'm gonna just speak. I understand the call from parents who say, "I need help. I need help." I get that. But my concern is this. The microwave allowed us to nuke food faster, right? Like you can get those leftovers up, great. But then like we're like microwaving everything. Yeah. And maybe that's not a big deal. Maybe that's not a big deal. But then, shipping things and having it delivered to your front door is helpful. And you're like, you know what, it really saved me time here and there when I did that. But now everything is shipped to your front door. Right? Who goes shopping anymore? Like if it doesn't, that the whole thing is shifted and changed. And I'm seeing parents come out and go, wow, man, I don't trust that entity. Yeah, we agree with you. That system needs help, but I don't know how to fix it. So I want to go over here. And they're being caught up by a lot of programs that are absolutely there to go, hey, homeschooling is hard. We hear you. We'll do it for you. We'll homeschool your kids for you. And like the microwave or shipping or any other innovation comes along and it's like, oh my goodness, thank you. I just needed a little help. And we're losing that like wild frontier spirit, that do it yourself spirit. Like, sure, I need that tree cut down and I can call someone, but doggone it, I've got a chainsaw. Or sure, my brakes need changed, but doggone it, I've got 2 greasy hands ready. Like that like, man, it saves so much time to just have somebody do it for you and to pay them. But the way that cultural spark that is in the heart of homeschooling, the do-it-yourself, it's at odds with I need help. And there's a place where they meet. There is a place where they meet, and I think you and Dina and a number of others found that place and were very careful about constructing your programs in a way that did still let the parents know you're in the driver's seat, you're in charge. This is not a school. We are not taking your kids off your hands. This is not a daycare that educates your kids for you. This isn't a drop-off program. It's not a mini school replacement of a bigger school. This is still you, the parent, fully responsible for your kid's education. But hey, French is hard. I know because when I was in high school in Alabama and we started homeschooling, I wanted to learn French. I thought it sounded beautiful. And you know what's really hard to learn in the dead center of Alabama when you're at home learning by yourself and the internet hadn't fully come to fruition yet? French. French is very hard to learn. Oh my word. So I switched to Spanish because that was what was available to be practiced with people around me. And so now I speak Spanish and English, but not French. And that's just that's part of it. It's part of it. So I get it. There are things that are hard, but there are those come alongside us moments. And I'm concerned that wave of people needing help and the come alongside us is going to grow. It already is really growing out to don't worry about it. We'll homeschool them for you.
Yeah, I think it's safe to say that the parents that I meet, for sure, they want what's best for their children.
Yeah.
They do. Parents want what's best. The problem is, and it wasn't a problem back then, I didn't have a lot of choices. So I had to make a choice when I needed something. I'm glad I didn't have a lot of choices because I think the parents today are overwhelmed because everybody's day, the new hottest way to learn. And I just finished, I'm not finished with it, but I just was working on this book, The Digital Delusion. And it is, guys, ed tech is a little scary. We don't know the results of technology in elementary education, but we are now starting to see the outcome of it, and it's not good.
Yeah.
But meanwhile, every 50% of 2-year-olds have iPads.
Yeah, I've seen that.
What is that doing to the brain? It's like there's
I
so
can tell you.
much out there that as parents, it's awfully scary, and I don't envy them raising children now. So I think my concern with the education, the home education, and on a larger scale in Florida is, as the law was written, parents can homeschool their children, or they can have a tutor homeschool their child,
Sure.
a certified teacher tutor.
Yep.
I just don't know where this new model is going to fit in, and I don't think we all do yet. And that will probably be on your plate in
Yes, it is.
or next, because with the scholarship, these numbers probably.
The money's there.
The money's there, and so that has attracted a lot of, and that's a good thing, and it's a hard thing at the same time.
Yep.
But a lot of people will pull their children out of school, and they'll come to me and they'll say, okay, I'm no longer at ABC Christian school. Now I want to go to your school. And we're like, no. You're no longer at ABC Christian school. Now you're going to homeschool your children. And if I can assist you, let us know.
There's a lot of educating.
My heart is for the parent.
Yeah.
My heart is for the parent to take ownership, because I believe that they will reap the benefit of some of the things when I talk about homeschooling now, I say to my audience a lot of times, it's kind of like labor. When you're in it, you're going to die. Like when you're in the midst of homeschooling, this is.
You mean like at birth? Yeah. Okay.
But when you look back on it, it's just wonderful. People are like, homeschooling. I'm like, it was great. And my husband's like, well, it wasn't always great. There were a few days.
Right.
So it's not easy. It's no matter how I remember it.
No.
It's not an easy journey, but nothing worthwhile ever is.
Yeah. You must divorce easy. It's not happening.
And I don't want families to miss out on that together and to just farm this education out. I want to encourage families. You can do it. Our slogan is, you can do it, we can help. You can do it. Find somebody to help you. You will. The years are short. By the time they finish middle school, 75% of the time you're going to spend with that child's over. And by the time they leave your house for high school, 90% of the time you're going to spend with them in their life is over. And I have to clarify that because my youngest bought the house next door. So we're going to mess that average up, I told him. But that's traditionally the way it is. So these are very short years that you to make those connections and to pour into them in every way, and to set them on the career that God's called them to do.
You don't get to recapture it. Oh, I made a mistake. Let me go back and do that. Hold on. Let's cuddle a little. Let's do the formative moments. Let me, you just don't get them back. You can't. You can't. So I want to, you mentioned something that it was like a quick, verse in what you said, but I want to elaborate on it because I think that it's important to pull out. Many people might disagree with you. So the money coming in, it's there, and you know what? There's some pros and cons to it, but it's a good thing. And I think there are some people who would very vehemently disagree with you that this money being here is not a good thing. And I want to challenge that notion. And I want to submit something for consideration. How do you, for a system that is so mired in bureaucracy the way that it is, how do you pivot it? How do you move it? There are no other actors. There are no other versions. There's a monopoly. There is a monopoly that public schools have on education. So how are you going to take that monopoly, and they don't even have to put out a good product. They get to exist every single year. They get budget. They get money. The product doesn't even have to be good. And sometimes we go, hey, their product is good. Why isn't your product like their product? And we'll argue, and we'll there will be fanfare and conversations. But ultimately, the money keeps coming. The taxes keep going. And the machine keeps pumping, and the monopoly stays a monopoly. So how do you disrupt that and create additional options?
Well, I think
you're going to make money.
I think one thing that's happened is if you look at the statistics, homeschoolers outscore public school and private school in standardized testing. So they are not creating the best product.
Sure.
We actually are.
But they have a monopoly.
there's crazy statistics where homeschoolers
Mhm.
voted like 90% higher than any group of people anywhere
Mhm.
can they get. So,
But it's still the monopoly norm. So my question is, how do you pull that monopoly
I don't know
away?
that we're ever going to get the world to look like us, but we're not supposed to look like the world. So I'm
Sure.
okay
Sure.
being remnant, raising up a generation that understands truth and that
Mm.
can combat this. And I see that is on the rise. I think the money part, when I say the money is good, good is a kind of strange word. What I would say is I have seen families that could not participate in dance or could not
Mhm.
participate in different activities because they had 3, 4 children and one income and it didn't work. So now
Mhm.
I'm seeing, and a lot of our money went back into scholarshiping those families for years and years. But what I'm seeing now
Mhm.
is families being able to make choices for their children, and I like that. I like that
Yeah.
everybody can do a dance
Yeah.
class, can do a karate class, can
Yeah.
pick some academic things that will help them to make their home school better.
Yeah. Yeah.
Take their
Or
money, and they're basically putting them in another private school, and I'm not here to criticize that. It's not the path I took. It's not
sure.
the path I advocate, but it's a
Sure.
viable path for families, and I'm not in everybody's situation, and so I don't have any judgment on pulling your kids
Sure.
out. If you pull them out of the public school, good for you. Congratulations. You have seen the agenda that the NEA has put forth, and if you want to see it, click into some of their meetings at
Mhm.
their national conference. It will frighten you. I
Mhm.
sat through it. It was rough. The
Mhm.
video of it. And I don't want to be in that system. I don't want your kids in that system. I don't want any children I know in that system. So I say good for you for pulling them out of the
Yeah.
public school system. And
So the way
what I want to say is homeschooling was amazing. And I
yeah.
don't want you to farm that out if you don't have to.
Amen. And I would say that the way that you break a monopoly is you introduce competition.
Mhm.
So the money, what it does is it puts it in the hands of parents and allows them to pick someone in the free market who can compete. This is where I think those micro education programs fit. I think they have a place. I think they're critical to the overall breaking free of what was a monopoly and now having a lot of options in that free marketplace and going, yeah, I want this one, I want that one. And parents pick what's best for your kids. But my caution is this: we cannot blur the line between those programs and homeschooling. We cannot do that because what we fight to protect isn't for you to have a better option from public school. It's for you to have your kids.
Mhm.
It's for you to have your kids and your connections and your moments and the educational responsibility to be yours and for you to take it and run with it. And that ultimate absolute parental authority is the crisp, clean, clear line we fight to make bright. And uh, unfortunately, uh, it also exists between us and those micro educational programs because the crisp, clean line is they're your kids, you're teaching them. Do you want help?
Who's in
Great,
charge?
go get it.
Who's in
Yes,
charge?
yes.
And that's,
So I had a,
are you in charge or are you delegating that? And
yeah,
to me, it feels like we need a separate category, maybe not because it is a separate option from public, private to these schools that are doing the
mm-hmm,
work to what homeschooling actually is. Because if you put those schools into what homeschooling is, you've really watered down decades and decades of parental oversight for their education. And that's
yes,
what we want to protect in Florida and across the country. So
yes.
parents do get to decide.
Yes. I had a Facebook comment that Crystal sent me, and the parent says, I'm terrible at homeschooling. I get frustrated and irritated. And with my PEP scholarship, can I just get someone to come to my house and teach my kids? Yes, it's called tutoring, right? You're not looking for a school or a program, or it's called tutoring. It exists, it's in statute, it's in law. Yes, it exists. I think a lot of parents need information. They need education and awareness of what is available to them. Yes, the market out there is going to sell you stuff, but also there are things in statute that are there for you to understand and know and go, ooh, If you are approached by educational program and you want to buy a class from them or sign your kid up for this or that, and they go, "Oh yeah, we have lots of classes and stuff that we offer. How much is your scholarship?" Run.
Well, I have my parents ask them how long they've been in business.
Yeah, ask them that. Yeah.
Are
But
they
if they
here
ask
since
you,
the money came in, or
yeah,
they've been here homeschooling and now they're
yes,
able to include more families
yes,
and stuff because of the money? I think
yes,
that's important. That's just our
yes,
market, but I don't want anybody to. I've had a few families get taken, but that's
yes.
going to happen anytime that kind of money is out
That's a
there.
risk. It's a part of the risk. Minimize the risk. If someone asks, if you are looking for classes here or there, an a la carte or a program or whatever, and you let them know that you have a scholarship, and they say, "Oh, really? That's cool. How much?" Do not answer that question and run.
Mhm.
Run to a provider that has a clear menu, a clear offering, a very transparent offering, and a very transparent uh, fee schedule for what they offer. This is who we are. This is what we offer. This is what it costs, period, done. And go select from them. Don't be raked over the coals. Don't let your scholarship money be raked over the coals by someone who just wants to go, "No way, how much?" That's like going to buy a car. And they're like, "How much are you looking to spend today?" I'm like, "I don't know. I don't know. I'm looking for a car." And they're like, "Yeah, but how much do you have?" You would never tell them the answer to that question. Oh, don't answer those questions. Those are bad questions. Yeah.
But I think the work you're doing to protect the home education instructional programs, because that's our name
Yes.
that we have
Yes.
come up with, and those are programs where the parents are getting assistance from us, but the parents are overseeing education. They're doing the grades,
That's
they're
correct.
doing the transcripts. Now we have lots of help to help them figure all of that out, but
Yeah.
they're in charge. We're a tool for them to use in their
Yeah.
program. That's what our program is. There used to be just a handful in the state, and then somebody threw out the number 10,000 the other day of
Oh my
programs
word.
now, which is just mind-boggling.
So many.
But yeah, if you're in South Florida, we're down in
Yeah.
Boca Raton. We do middle school, high school. We dual enroll through Palm Beach Atlantic and Southeastern. So all of our students graduate with about a year of college done, if that's their direction. And we do all hands on for littles, because
I was speaking to another college recently. They hearing about things like what you're doing, and they're like, "How do we come alongside home education community, little private college? How do we come alongside them? How do we help that?" And it's exciting. Listen, a lot of the changes are resulting in some good quality pivots and turns in both public education and in like higher education. A lot of schools are starting to see that their bloated programs are not what parents want to send their kids to, that they want to get something like shopping. They want to get what they get for their need and get on.
right.
And, there are some reality checks that are kind of happening with enrollment dropping. This is great. Enrollment dropping is awesome. It's great. It's a red flag to the entities and the universities and the institutions. They're going, "Hey, look,
COVID
there are
sped
other nimble
that up for
programs."
us. Yeah, COVID sped that up for us, because
Oh, yeah.
parents actually saw what was going on. And that's kind of
Yeah.
the whole new thing about the 2-hour teaching window. Like elementary
Yeah.
education is 2 hours. If it's longer than that, you might want to re-examine what you're doing.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. And that's that's a great observation, because I don't even know if this parent who posted, because they posted anonymously and they didn't post anything about their kid, what level they were, what grade they were, what it was like. No additional information, just that, which sometimes makes me wonder if it's a plant, but whatever.
Mhm.
But that's a great point. I'm terrible at homeschooling. I get frustrated and irritated. Are you teaching kindergartner and
Right.
trying to make it 8 hours? This is tough. That's grueling. Yeah, I get it.
And they're copying a broken system. That's the whole thing. A system that goes on standardized tests and finances and all the political pressure. Like we need to divorce ourselves from that and really look at what these children that God's given us and what is the best thing. And homeschooling, I believe, offers that, because who knows better, who knows your child better, and who loves your child more than you do.
Yeah. The greatest form of parental empowerment is they are yours. They do not belong to the state. They do not belong to the greater good of society. They belong to you, for you to raise and teach in the way that you believe they should go, so that when they're old and in their ways and they're starting to do life, they won't depart from the things that you've taught them. So you have all that time. It is yours, and we fight to make it so. Oh my goodness, there's a big one. Let's get some of these comments because they're coming in. And Tracy from FPEA, love you, Tracy. She says, guys, I'm so thankful for you all and others that are on the same page and willing to spread the good word in regards to education, in regards to character, and of course in regards to the ultimate truth. She said, oh, when you said it feels like you're going to die, she's like laughing. The monopoly stems from the government and well-meaning people. So to disrupt it, we must get and stay involved, including voting, pare down government involvement overall from its roots. Do not let them gain more power over individual rights, meaning we cannot continue to abdicate our responsibilities. I'm with you 100%. Doug Williams, hey, bud. He says, if we take a PEP scholarship, how will that affect our daughter's ability? Oh, this is a question. Okay, great. If we take a PEP scholarship, how will that affect our daughter's ability to participate in public school extracurricular and sports programs? It will not, actually. And let me go ahead and pull this up for you because I am that nerdy. Let's see, 1002.01's definitions. Right here in the definitions of the personalized education program, it says very specifically that a personalized education student shall, meaning must, be provided the same flexibility and opportunities as provided 1002.4138 through 12. That's for home education statutes. So essentially, when it comes to those programs, they are to be treated as one and the same. I like the way that the Bright Futures programs words this. They say, for the purposes of our program, home education and PEP students will be treated synonymously. So they'll literally just be treated as interchangeable, similar to one another. Now, these programs are different, so there are differences whenever it comes down to paying for things, and that gets into the questions about extracurricular fees, which is something that is also in Senator Simon's bill. It is not supposed to be that PEP students are charged for extracurriculars. They should be charged the same that home education students are charged, which is the same that public school students are charged, which is it's provided for them. However, if there is a per student, meaning the school draws down funds for a particular student in a particular program, then the scholarship is functioning as that student's funding. So they would be able, if they're drawing down funding for that student from the state, they would be able to draw down funding from your scholarship. So they would pass that expense on for that particular extracurricular, but those are going to be extracurriculars in which they're treated individually that way. So sports programs and stuff that are funded on a holistic program are not supposed to be charging extracurricular fees. Some counties and schools have been doing that, and there is a lot going on in regards to that. So Senator Simon's bill aims to clean part of that up. But to answer your question, she would be able to participate. So the whole process is very confusing. It seems that public educators are the least informed of all. Yes, they have a lot to do, and they don't sit around and read law. Currently, we homeschool and have for many years. Our daughter participates in the public school extracurricular sports program now, but one of the first questions that public administrators asked was if we had applied for PEP. When we told them no, they seemed to be more open. However, Jason, if you remember, it wasn't an easy battle. It was not an easy battle, and thank you for sticking through that. Going forward, we're very unsure about what to do. Whoops. All right. We would greatly appreciate the funds available to utilize and don't want to jeopardize her opportunities. Yeah, so no, they are treated synonymously in both statute and in some of the other programs. There's also, we have connections at the Department of Education that are willing to walk the district school members, whether it's a school or a school board, through that process. So if you're willing to put it out there and make that shift and you need it, then by all means go for it, because it is available to you, and you should not see any additional roadblocks in regards to that choice. So, Tracy from FPEA says, one of the problems I think we are all seeing is that public school administrators are registering the extracurricular kids with the PEP scholarships as being enrolled, and so there is a conflict. So the parent has to make sure that the administrators are not checking all the boxes. So yeah, there's with the cross checks, I think is what you're getting at there. Some of the cross check issues where students were either FESUA or PEP, and they were participating at sports in a public school. And so the sport, for the purposes of insurance, has to show somehow that they're enrolled in order for the student to be covered by the insurance. So there is this need that the school districts have to do that. They do have a way of keeping that internally, but not. And then from what I've understood, there was some miscommunication somewhere between the Department of Education, the districts, and then the individual schools and the home education offices. And so in between these several different layers, somewhere something got miscommunicated, and they didn't tell them not to report the totality of their enrollment. So they only wanted the students that were they didn't want the students that were enrolled in PEP but enrolled as secondarily. But somehow they got the totality of all types of enrollment, and so that created issues when they were doing the cross checks. And so that, to my knowledge and understanding from what's been happening, as things have kind of played out, that was one of the things that they explained to me made it more difficult. They're confident that that shouldn't happen again moving forward. We'll see. I do know that they have been working hand in hand with the scholarship funding organizations to make this process cleaner and more efficient and more direct, maybe without even necessarily needing all of the changes that are coming in the bill that's been proposed. I think that's also one of the things that the House is waiting for, is to kind of see more feedback and how things are going. What do we really need to put in the House's package versus, what can they do on their own to make this work? And then, okay, like, what do we actually need? Their hands are tied. They can't do this. We need to put this into the package. And so I think that's also one of the things the House is waiting on. And I applaud them for that, trying to be, astute and succinct, not necessarily dealing with, creating a whole bunch more points of failure in a system that already has a lot going on in it. So there is a lot going on. And I tell you what, we're over time. And I appreciate you, Sue, for being with us. If you guys want any more.
Shout out, Jason.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
I'm going to be speaking Saturday at the South Florida Expo in Delray Beach. If anybody's around from 10 to 4, they're having speakers. And I'll be talking on early education and why it should be play-based. And let's throw out the worksheets, one of my favorites. And then I switch to the other topic and I go into how to do high school and homeschool. Let's make it simple and 10 easy steps. And I'm excited about both of those. It's going to be a great day. And if you are interested in homeschooling questions or even in our program, you can go to heedhomeschool.com. And we have some open houses coming up, and we would love to meet you and talk to you.
Yeah.
Thank you for this opportunity to hang out.
We may have to have you do your 10 easy steps here for us. Yeah, we might have to have a special version of the podcast for you. That would be great.
It takes the mystery out of, I could never do high school. When people stand up and they look at me and they go, I can totally do this. I'm like, perfect. That's all I'm going for.
Yeah. Let's do that.
All that work. Support Brenda and Jason. If you buy that book on Amazon, Completing the Journey, check goes right to your bank account up in Tallahassee for the organization. So purchasing that is a way of supporting HEF too.
Yes, absolutely. And you know what we do? We're going to have you back on to talk about that, because I think that is demystifying for a lot of people. And I think somewhere between now and April is the best place to do it, because a lot of parents are interested in this particular window. This is when these scholarships open back up. So everyone's registering and re-registering and updating their registration. So this is the all-call moment. And
you can join us all in May at the FPA conference. We'll be there.
That's true too.
Jason will be there. And that's a great time too to get information. So put that on calendars for Memorial Day.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. And if you want to follow more of the information that we've got, absolutely join our Discord, flhef.org. /Discord, and you'll find it. If you go to our homepage, there's a button right up there on the top that'll let you join it as well. We're going to do thank you. Wow, I can't. We are going to thank the parents of the free state of Florida one more time for your support of us. We're going to thank our top sponsors, Arete, FPEA. Shout out to FPEA, Fisher Precious Metals, TBHC Group for being our top sponsors. You guys are amazing. We appreciate everything that you do. And we're going to let you guys have your Monday back. And I've probably got to get to the Capitol here soon. So that being what it is, we will see y'all next week. And, hop in Discord if you want to know what's happening moment by moment with the legislation.